Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about the InjectOne operator and the InjectLast operator in DIVEX and Composition Language 1. And this example here is written in a language called Composition Language 1, and if you understand C#, you should be able to understand most of the code here. So you can try this example in the browser using this link, and I will be putting this link in the description box of this video. Okay, so here I have a method called process, which processes some data, right? And this method takes a parameter called log, which is a function, right? A function that takes a string parameter. And this parameter basically will be used to log. So here, for example, I'm logging the fact that I'm about to process the data, right? Here, I'm supposed to actually process the data, but here I'm simply using console.writeLine to simulate processing the data. And in the end here, I use the log parameter again to log the fact that we are done processing. Okay, so basically here we have three functions that can be used as a value for the log parameter. So this log to console function, it takes a string and it simply prints it to the console, right? This function here, log to file, it takes a string message parameter and a file name parameter. And this method is supposed to log into a file, but here I'm simulating this by writing to the console the fact that we are logging to this file name and then the message to log, right? Okay. Now the third function that can be used to log is called log multiple. It takes a string message parameter and then an array of log functions. And basically this method simply loops through the log functions and calls each one of them passing the message. So basically this is an application of the composite button, right? This allows me to log a single message into multiple sources, right? Okay. So here in the main method, I'm injecting log to console into process, right? And if I look at the signature of the resulting function, it simply takes the data to process, and it doesn't take the log parameter because we have fixed that to be log to console, right? Here I'm injecting log to file into process, and the resulting function takes a string data parameter, which is the data to process, but then it takes the file name parameter, which was bubbled up from the log to file function, right? Okay, here I'm injecting log multiple as a value for the log parameter of process. And now the resulting function here, it takes the data parameter, but then it takes the array of log functions that was bubbled up from log multiple, right? And to explain this more, let's go back to the signature of log multiple. It takes a string message and then the array of log functions, right? And the log parameter of process, it only expects a string, right? And this string was matched with the message parameter of log multiple. And this is why this parameter here, the logs parameter, was bubbled up to the resulting function here, right? Okay. So now what this means here is that I can process the data and then I can pass an array of log functions instead of a single log function, which is the original signature of the process function, right? So the process function here, it allows me to pass a single log function, but this function here, it allows us to pass multiple log functions, right? Okay, so far I have been using the inject operator, right? And in this code here, I'm using the InjectOne and the InjectLast operators. So the InjectOne operator, it allows us to inject some function as a value for the first element of an array. So this process and log to multiple function, it takes an array called logs, which is an array of function, right? Now using InjectOne, I'm passing log to console as a value to the first element of the logs array, right? And the function that results from using the InjectOne operator still takes an array of functions called logs. But this new parameter here, it represents the remainder of the array, right? So now this new function here, it already has log to console specified as the first element of the array, but then it allows you to specify more log functions, right? And because of that, I can use InjectOne multiple times, each time specifying a value for the next element in the array. Now InjectLast, it allows us to specify a value for the last element in the array, right? So here I'm saying I want log to console to be used as the first element in the array, and then I want to use log file as the second element in the logs array, but I want it also to be the final element, meaning that the function returned by InjectLast will no longer contain the logs array, right? So basically the InjectLast operator, it closes the array. Okay, and of course, like other DIVEX operators, InjectOne and InjectLast allow you to inject functions even if the signatures don't match. So for example, the log to file function, it has a string message parameter and a string filename parameter, and we were able to inject that as an element of the logs parameter, even though each log parameter only takes one string and not two. And what happens, like other DIVEX operators, any extra parameters are bubbled up to the resulting function. And this is why this function here has this file name parameter, which was bubbled up from the log to file function, right? Okay, so here's another example. And in this example, I'm injecting log to console as the first element in the logs array and log to file as the second element of the logs array, but then I'm using the replace last operator to close the array. I have talked about the replace last operator in a previous video. To learn about the replace last operator, please see the corresponding video. But the reason I'm using it here is because I want to keep one log function open for consumers. So let me show you the signature of the resulting function. So this resulting function, it takes the data parameter of process and the filename parameter of log to file, but then it allows me to provide a custom log function of type function, right? And I was able to do that using the replace last operator here. So basically this is a function that returns the custom log function, right? So basically what I'm saying here, for the last element of the array, inject this function here, and this parameter of this function will be bubbled up to the resulting function. And this is why here in the resulting function we have this function parameter, right? Okay, and replace last is usually used to specify a value for a non-function parameter, but it can be used, as in this case, to provide a value for a parameter whose type is a function, but then the function that we pass here, the return type of it must be a function also, right? Okay, here I'm consuming this first function, right, passing the data to process and a value for the filename parameter, and here I'm using the second function, passing the data to process, a value for the filename parameter, and then a value for the custom log parameter, which is basically a function that does custom logging, right? Okay, so if I hit Ctrl Shift and X to run the code, here in the first invocation, it's logging two places, the console and the file, right? And then in the second invocation, which invokes the second function, it's writing to three places, right? The console, the file, and then the custom log, right? Okay, so if you would like to learn more about DIVEX and Composition Language 1, please subscribe to this channel, and if you like this video, please hit the like button. Okay, thank you for watching.